Hey guys, welcome back to another video today. So today's learner driver passed at Wanstead Driving Test Centre with 0 minor faults. For those of you that are interested in having a mock test in a safe and supportive environment, please feel free to contact me. My contact details are shared on the screen above. The benefits of having a mock driving test: it will help you reduce your nerves, identify weaknesses that your instructor can work on, and it can help you drive in test conditions, build confidence, as well as familiarising yourself with the test routes. So guys, when driving on a residential road like this, as there's parked cars on both sides of the road and it is particularly narrow, you should assess the appropriate speed of the road, as well as anticipating that parked car doors could open or a pedestrian could walk in between parked cars. So it's really important to drive to the appropriate speed, as well as keeping the correct level of clearance. At the end of the road, the examiner instructed the pupil to turn left. Now, as you come up to the end of the road here, you want to assess the visibility. Ask yourself the question whether the visibility is restricted or not. And also, if you are driving a manual transmission vehicle, do make sure that you are at the biting point and use the peep and creep method to better your visibility. And then at the end of the road, the candidate was instructed to turn left again. As you're coming up to the end of the road here, guys, do be wary of meeting situations or cars turning in from the major road, as well as when you do turn left here, there is a pedestrian crossing on the left. Now, for the viewers that are watching, how can you tell the difference between a pedestrian crossing light and a normal traffic light? And would the light have changed here as well? That's something that you need to be mindful of. The examiner then instructed my pupil to pull up on the left in a safe place. So here was a safe place. Now guys, do make sure that whenever you pull up on the left, identify a safe, convenient and legal place. So obviously ahead of us, you can see the zigzag lines, which is an illegal place to pull up within. Now, be mindful guys that when you do pass the driving test, if you do pull up on a zigzag line, it is an offence, so you could get points on your license or potentially a fine. And bear in mind that obviously you do share a level of responsibility when driving. Now, if you do get points on your license, 6 points on your license, in the first 2 years, you will have to sit your driving test again. So it's really important that whenever you pull up on the left, you identify a safe, convenient and legal place.